Marcus Williams, a 28-year-old black man, had been working as a waiter at the Copper Fork, an upscale restaurant in downtown Chicago, for the past 3 years. Despite having a bachelor's degree in business administration, the tough job market had forced him to take whatever work he could find. Marcus was known for his warm smile, perfect service, and his habit of always going the extra mile for his customers. Growing up in a working-class family on the south side of Chicago, Marcus had learned the value of hard work and never giving up from his parents. His father, a construction worker, and his mother, a nurse, taught him a strong work ethic and a deep sense of caring for others. These values served him well in his current job, even though it wasn't his dream career. On this particular Friday evening, the restaurant was buzzing with its usual weekend crowd. The clinking of glasses and the murmur of conversation filled the air as Marcus skillfully moved between tables, balancing trays and taking orders. Little did he know that this shift would be different from any other he had experienced before. As Marcus approached his assigned section, he noticed a woman in a wheelchair being seated at one of his tables. She appeared to be in her mid-50s, with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. Something about her personality intrigued Marcus, and he found himself looking forward to serving her table. When Marcus arrived at the table, he noticed that the woman was dining alone. This wasn't uncommon, but there was something about her that made him pause. She seemed lost in thought, her fingers tracing the pattern on the tablecloth without really thinking. "Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to the Copper Fork. My name is Marcus, and I'll be your server tonight. May I start you off with something to drink?" he said, his voice warm and professional. The woman looked up, her eyes focusing on Marcus. For a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of recognition in her gaze, but it disappeared so quickly that he convinced himself he had imagined it. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I'd love a glass of white wine, please. Whatever you recommend." Marcus nodded and turned to fetch the wine, unable to shake the feeling that there was more to this woman than met the eye. When he returned with a crisp Chardonnay, she was studying the menu intently. "Have you decided on your meal, or would you like a few more minutes?" Marcus asked. The woman smiled. "I think I'm ready. I'll have the pan-seared scallops, please." As Marcus wrote down her order, she added, "And Marcus, would you mind joining me for a moment? I have something I'd like to discuss with you." Taken aback by this unusual request, Marcus hesitated. It wasn't standard practice to sit with customers, but something in the woman's tone made him curious. He glanced around, noting that his other tables were settled for the moment. "Of course, ma'am. I have a few minutes," he replied, pulling out a chair and sitting down across from her. The woman leaned forward slightly, her eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "I want to thank you for your service tonight, Marcus, but more than that, I want to thank you for something you did a long time ago, something you probably don't even remember." Marcus's brow furrowed in confusion. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't understand. Have we met before?" She shook her head, a sad smile playing on her lips. "No, we haven't met. 5 years ago, you changed my life. Something you did changed everything for me." As Marcus listened, confused, the woman reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She smoothed it out on the table, revealing a newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Local Hero Saves Woman from Burning Car." There, in the grainy photograph, was a younger version of Marcus, his face smudged with soot as he helped paramedics load someone into an ambulance. "This is you, isn't it?" she asked, pointing to the photo. Marcus's eyes widened in recognition. The memory of that day came flooding back, the screeching tires, the smell of burning rubber, the heat of the flames. He had been walking home from a late-night study session at the library when he witnessed the car crash. Without thinking, he had rushed to help, pulling the unconscious driver from the wreckage moments before the car exploded. "Yes, that's me," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But how did you know?" The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Because the woman you saved that day was my daughter, Emily." Marcus sat back in his chair, stunned by the revelation. He remembered the accident vividly but had never known what happened to the woman he had saved. After giving his statement to the police, he had gone home, showered off the soot, and tried to push the traumatic event from his mind. Emily, he repeated the name, feeling it foreign on his tongue. Is she okay?" The woman nodded, wiping away a tear. "She's alive, thanks to you. She suffered severe injuries in the crash, including damage to her spine that left her paralyzed from the waist down. But she's alive and thriving. She's a motivational speaker now, sharing her story of survival and strength with others." Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He had often wondered about the impact of his actions that night but had never imagined this. I don't know what to say. I'm just glad I was there to help." "You did more than help, Marcus. You gave my daughter a second chance at life. And in doing so, you changed our entire family's path." The woman reached across the table, grasping Marcus's hand. "My name is Linda, by the way. Linda Thompson." As Linda spoke, Marcus found himself transported back to that fateful night. He remembered the fear that had gripped him as he approached the burning car, the adrenaline that had surged through his veins as he pulled Emily from the wreck. He had acted on instinct, never considering the long-term consequences of his actions. "I've been searching for you for years," Linda continued. "Emily wanted to thank you personally, but we had no way of finding you. The police report only listed you as a Good Samaritan, no contact information. It wasn't until last week, when my husband and I were dining here, that I recognized you from that old newspaper photo." Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "I can't believe you found me after all this time, and here of all places." Linda smiled gently. "The universe has a way of bringing people together when they need it most. And Marcus, I think you needed to hear this just as much as we needed to tell you." As the reality of the situation sank in, Marcus felt a whirlwind of emotions: pride in his past actions, humility in the face of Linda's gratitude, and a sudden overwhelming sense of purpose. For years, he had been going through the motions, feeling stuck in a job that didn't align with his dreams. But now, hearing about the profound impact he had made on Emily's life, he felt a spark ignite within him. "Linda," he said, his voice filled with newfound determination, "thank you for sharing this with me. I never imagined that my actions that night would have such far-reaching consequences." Linda squeezed his hand. "That's often the way with acts of kindness, Marcus. We rarely see the full extent of the ripples we create." In that moment, Marcus made a decision. He couldn't continue living his life as if that night had never happened. He needed to embrace the part of himself that had rushed into danger to save a stranger's life. "I want to meet Emily," he said, surprising himself with the intensity of his words. "If that's okay with you and her, of course. I'd like to hear her story." Linda's face lit up. "Oh, Marcus, she would love that. In fact, she's giving a speech at a local community center next week. Would you like to come?" Marcus nodded enthusiastically. "I'd be honored." As he stood up to return to his duties, Marcus felt as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose, a connection to something greater than himself. Over the next week, Marcus threw himself into learning about Emily's story. He watched videos of her speeches online, marveling at her strength and positivity in the face of hardship. He found himself inspired by her resilience, and it made him question his own life choices. Why had he allowed himself to settle into a life that didn't fulfill him? Why had he let fear and complacency hold him back from pursuing his true passions? The night of Emily's speech arrived, and Marcus sat in the audience, his heart pounding with anticipation. As Emily wheeled onto the stage, her presence commanding and her smile radiant, Marcus felt a surge of emotion. This was the woman he had saved, now changing lives with her words and her example. Emily's speech was powerful, detailing her journey from the accident to her current role as a motivational speaker. She spoke of the stranger who had saved her life, describing him as her guardian angel. When she finished, the audience gave her a standing ovation. After the speech, Linda introduced Marcus to Emily. The moment was charged with emotion as Emily grasped his hands, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice choked with gratitude. "You gave me a second chance at life, and I try to make the most of it every day." As they talked, Marcus felt a shift within himself. Emily's strength and determination in the face of adversity made his own struggles seem small in comparison. He realized that he had been letting fear and complacency hold him back from pursuing his true passions. In the days that followed, Marcus made a series of life-changing decisions. He gave notice at the restaurant, enrolled in a firefighter training program, and began volunteering at a local youth center. The spark that had been ignited by Linda's revelation had grown into a flame, driving him to make a difference in his community. However, these changes didn't come without challenges. Marcus's family was concerned about the risks associated with firefighting, and he faced financial strain as he juggled training and part-time work. There were moments of doubt when he wondered if he had made the right choice. But every time he faltered, Marcus thought of Emily and the impact of that one selfless act. He remembered the feeling of pulling her from that burning car, and it renewed his determination to dedicate his life to helping others. As Marcus immersed himself in his new path, he found an unexpected ally in Tom, a veteran firefighter who took him under his wing. Tom, a gruff but kind-hearted man in his 50s, recognized Marcus's passion and dedication and became determined to help him succeed. "You've got the heart for this job, kid," Tom told him one day after a particularly grueling training session. "But heart alone won't save lives. You need skill, strategy, and teamwork." Under Tom's guidance, Marcus pushed himself harder than he ever had before. He learned about fire behavior, rescue techniques, and emergency medical procedures. The physical demands were intense, but Marcus found that he thrived under pressure. Meanwhile, Marcus's relationship with Emily and Linda continued to grow. He became a regular at Emily's speeches, drawing inspiration from her words and using them to fuel his own journey. Emily, in turn, began incorporating Marcus's story into her talks, using it as an example of how one person's actions can have a profound impact on others. As Marcus progressed in his training, he also became more involved in the community. He started a program at the youth center, teaching fire safety to kids, drawing on his own experience to emphasize the importance of quick thinking and bravery in emergency situations. One day, while Marcus was volunteering at the center, a young boy named Jamal approached him. Jamal, a shy 10-year-old from a troubled home, had been a regular at Marcus's fire safety class. "Mr. Marcus," Jamal said hesitantly, "do you think I could be a firefighter?" Marcus knelt down to Jamal's level, looking the boy in the eye. "Absolutely, Jamal. It takes hard work and dedication, but if you set your mind to it, you can do anything." As he spoke those words, Marcus realized how much he had changed. Just months ago, he had been stuck in a job he didn't love, feeling powerless to change his circumstances. Now, he was not only pursuing his own dreams but inspiring others to do the same. The ripple effect of Marcus's actions continued to spread, touching the lives of everyone around him. Emily, Linda, Tom, Jamal, each person represented a different aspect of his journey, and together they formed a support system that gave Marcus the strength to keep moving forward. The day of Marcus's final firefighter examination arrived, bringing with it a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was the culmination of months of rigorous training.